I regrettably lost the initial review I made the day this episode came out, but I'm throwing in a quick review now before the next one. And I can't remember everything I said in the original review, but it kind of just amounts to more of what I've said in previous reviews, which is this just where we're at? Where the entertainment model is kind of bland characters with little humor or wit, seeing often interesting things, and then it only ever becomes properly exciting when some actor you've seen in something else shows up? Because that doesn't seem like a very great entertainment model. I think I'm being a little hard on it, because I think if any season was going to be a disappointment, it would be the first one, because startup costs are big and people are still learning how to do everything, and there's all sorts of obstacles you run into when you're starting a project that you don't anticipate or that you have to account for that take more time and money than you expect. So it's not unusual, but it's a little disheartening. Another reason I waited until now to record this review is just because part of me is like, I don't even want to think about the show that much, because it's not very encouraging as a fan of the original material. I don't want to, push up my glasses and say, well, actually, because that may not be a productive exercise, but it's not that the hair isn't the same color, or they didn't use this line here, or they didn't do this particular thing I found good, or that they make changes, or they introduce characters earlier. That works just fine, and even that entertainment model I was just kind of bagging on earlier, where an actor you've seen before shows up, that's not a bad model in and of itself either, because people like seeing people they've seen in other things. But what bothers me is that they haven't really captured the tone of the book, because the tone of the book is very funny and fast-paced and enthusiastic. And at the risk of simplification, I'm going to say the kids acted like real teenagers, because teenagers are kind of wise guys, and also teenagers are smart, and they understand the world they're in a lot of the time on some basic levels. They're not just sitting around being like, oh, isn't this mysterious, or isn't this sad? They have opinions. They have complex thoughts. And the thing is, of course, we know the creators know this, because, Rick Riordan wrote the books and was, a middle school teacher for like 15 years, so he's not a freaking idiot. But the product doesn't seem to have what the books had in terms of tone. And I think that tone was really what attracted a lot of viewers, so I think that's where a lot of the apathy is coming from. And yeah, it's surprising, because looking at production, it seemed like Rick Riordan was and is really, really, truly involved in crafting this. But in execution, this just feels a lot like the creator's previous show, Black Sails. Black Sails was a more slow-paced show, but it worked because all the actors were, adults who can infuse moments with gravity and can hint at history and context, and if nothing else, are good looking, and so you can just enjoy them being good looking. But in a show with teenagers, you don't really have that same set of options. A natural, outsider reaction is to think, why didn't you just let the kids be funny like they probably are in real life? And it's a little annoying. But also, I don't know how it works. But at this point, I am worrying about viewership and about continued growth of the show. The numbers aren't publicly available, and I understand they were healthy at the premiere. But what if they drop off? Is this show not going to get renewed? I find that unlikely right now, just because it has a huge built-in audience that will keep watching and that fit into Disney Plus demographics. But it's worrisome. And, my hope is that the show will just continue and be whatever it is. And I think you can grow into something more congruent with, say, the books. But I can't do that if it isn't renewed. So it's a little disheartening. But whatever, I'm going to keep watching and see what happens.